It began like any normal day. People were walking to work, children were getting ready for school, and the sky was a calm, peaceful blue. But at exactly 9:14 a.m., everything changed. The sky turned red, not just a little red like a sunset. It was blood red, deep, dark, and terrifying. All around the world, people stopped what they were doing and stared up. Planes turned back. News channels switched to emergency broadcasts. Governments went silent. In New York, an old man looked up from his newspaper and whispered, "It's them. They've come." High above the earth, hundreds of black shapes pierced the clouds. Massive alien ships, each the size of a city, hung in the sky without moving. There was no sound, no lights, no warning. "They're not attacking yet," said Commander Lee Morgan, watching from inside the UN defense bunker buried under Iceland. She was tall, calm, and trained for war. But even she felt fear crawl down her spine. "Why are they just watching?" "They're waiting," replied Dr. Raj Patel, a scientist standing beside her. "They want us to panic. That's how they win." Across the world, panic was spreading fast. In Paris, people ran through the streets. In Beijing, military jets scrambled into the sky. In America, the president was rushed into a secure bunker. And still, the ships did nothing. Suddenly, a voice echoed in the minds of every human. It was cold and sharp, like metal scraping metal. "People of Earth, you are now subjects of the Galactic Empire. Surrender, and your deaths will be painless. Resist, and be erased." People screamed, some fainted, others prayed. And somewhere, in a small lab in Norway, an old man smiled. His name was Dr. Eric Salin. Long ago, he worked on a project that most people forgot. A secret weapon buried under layers of ice. The government had shut it down, saying it was too dangerous. But Eric never stopped believing. And now the time had come. He picked up his old satellite phone and dialed a hidden code. Back in the UN bunker, alarms started beeping. "Commander," shouted a young officer. "Something just activated near Antarctica. Massive energy spike." "Show me," Lee ordered. On the screen, a glowing shape began to rise from beneath the ice. It wasn't a building. It wasn't a ship. It looked alive. "What is that?" asked Dr. Patel. Lee stared. "A mistake we buried a long time ago." Meanwhile, the alien ships began to move. Slowly, they descended toward major cities: London, Tokyo, Cairo, New Delhi. But just as the first ship approached New York, it suddenly stopped. Then, without warning, it exploded. A wave of blue energy shot through the sky. The red glow above Earth faded slightly. "Did we do that?" gasped an officer. Dr. Patel shook his head. "No, that energy wasn't ours. It's older, stronger." Lee turned to her team. "Contact the base in Antarctica, now." Far under the frozen surface, Eric stood inside a glowing chamber. A strange machine, part metal and part organic, pulsed with light. "You remember me," he whispered. "I knew you would." The machine hummed. A deep voice filled the chamber, but it wasn't speaking any language. Eric nodded. "The Empire is here. Earth needs your help." There was silence. Then the lights turned red, matching the sky outside. "You're angry," Eric said softly. "But we didn't want to bury you. They were afraid." The machine replied with a pulse that shook the ground. Outside, ice cracked and mountains rumbled. Eric took a deep breath. "If you help us now, I promise, we won't forget you again." The machine rose fully from the ice. Its body was massive, with arms like towers and a face made of shifting light. It wasn't human, but it wasn't alien either. It was something in between. Something made on Earth. But not by humans alone. The alien ships saw it too. They paused in midair, their weapons pointed downward. A message rang out from the Empire again. "What is that?" This time, Earth replied. Commander Lee stood in front of the cameras. Her voice was calm and firm. It's the reason we're not afraid of you. She looked into the camera, her eyes sharp. You think you're stronger because your ships are bigger. You think you're smarter because you came from the stars. But you made one mistake. She leaned forward. You underestimated us. As if on cue, the machine from Antarctica lifted one massive arm. Light gathered at its center. One alien ship tried to shoot, but its weapon froze. Another tried to run, but its engines died. Then the beam fired. In 1 second. 5 alien ships vanished. Gone. Dust in the sky. People around the world watched in silence. Then they cheered. The Empire was not prepared for this. Back on their command ship, a tall alien in gold armor watched the screen. His eyes narrowed. How did they build that? He asked his advisor. They didn't, the advisor replied. It was left behind. Long ago, from a war we lost, the Emperor clenched his fist. So Earth is not just a target. It's a graveyard of our past. What shall we do, my lord? There was a long pause. Send a message to the fleet. Fall back, we return in full force. Back on Earth, the red sky began to clear. The people were shaken, but alive. Cities were damaged, but not destroyed. Commander Lee watched the alien ships pull away. She didn't smile. This isn't over, she said. Dr. Patel nodded. No, but we showed them something important. What's that? She asked. He looked out at the sky. That we are not weak. We are unpredictable. Behind them, the machine slowly returned to the ice. Eric watched it disappear, his hand resting on the cold glass. Sleep well, old friend, he whispered. We may need you again. And far above the Earth, the Empire prepared for round 2. This time, they would not face a helpless planet. They would face humanity, and something else they still didn't understand, something sleeping under the ice. And now awake. Dark clouds floated above the planet. The red sky had faded, but the fear remained. People didn't sleep that night. They kept watching the skies, waiting for the alien ships to return. Inside a hidden command center deep under the Rocky Mountains, Commander Lee Morgan stood beside a large glowing table. Dozens of dots blinked on the screen above each one, an alien ship. They were still in orbit, watching Earth from above. They didn't leave, she said quietly. No, replied Dr. Raj Patel, adjusting his glasses. They pulled back to study us. They saw something they didn't expect. Commander Lee looked around the room. Are we ready? A young officer nodded. Yes, ma'am. All teams are in place. We're waiting for your word. Outside, humans were not running. They were planning. The fear had turned to fire. Across the world, underground bases, secret labs, and old war shelters had come alive. And deep inside one of those shelters was a weapon, something never tested, never used. Until now. In a small dark control room in Nevada, a man stood in front of a silver box. He was tall, in his 50s, with a scar running down the side of his neck. Is this really going to work? A soldier asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he placed his hand on the box and spoke in a calm, cold voice. Activate Project Wraith. The machine lit up with a soft hum. Target? Orbit, the largest alien cruiser. Take it out. The machine beeped once. Then silence. High above the Earth, the alien ship known as the Eye of Judgment floated calmly. It was the Empire's flagship, and its captain believed no human weapon could reach it. He stood tall in his silver armor, arms behind his back. His eyes were cold, emotionless. Scan again, he ordered. What is that energy signal rising? From below, an alien officer looked confused. Unknown. It's not nuclear, it's something else. Suddenly, every screen on the ship blinked. Static. Then nothing. Systems offline, the officer said. Sir, we're being pulled. The captain's eyes widened. Pulled? Before he could say more, a beam of light appeared from Earth. It didn't explode. It didn't make sound. It just ... erased the ship. Gone. No smoke. No fire. Only silence. Commander. Lee stared at the screen in the command center. The blinking red dot representing the alien flagship was gone. It worked, she said. Dr. Patel looked stunned. That beam. It didn't destroy the ship. It removed it from space. Where did it go? Someone whispered. No idea, he replied. But it's not here anymore. In space, chaos broke out among the alien fleet. Flagship down. Unknown human technology. Retreat or engage? Some ships started backing away. Others opened fire on random locations on Earth, but their weapons misfired. Something was jamming them. Back on the command ship, the second in command shouted, "Sir, this is not what the data said. Earth was supposed to be weak," the admiral snarled. Then the data was wrong. While alien ships scrambled, humans took the next step. From deep in the Mojave Desert, 10 small missiles were launched not toward the alien ships, but into the sky itself. They released strange waves into Earth's upper atmosphere. Suddenly, every satellite, human or alien, went blind. Commander Lee grinned. Now they can't see us. Dr. Patel nodded. We've created a blind zone. They're cut off from each other. No eyes, no control. The aliens, confused and panicked, couldn't tell which human base was real or where attacks were coming from. They began to fight shadows. On one alien ship, a young warrior asked his captain, "Do we retreat?" The captain shook his head. "We're the Empire. We do not run." Just then, the floor under them shook. An explosion? No. Worse. A human stealth craft, invisible to radar, had attached itself to the ship. Inside it were 5 elite human soldiers, moving fast through dark alien halls. "We're inside," said one soldier, whispering into a mic. "Good," replied a voice in his ear. "Plant the virus." In less than 10 minutes they did. The ship's control system froze. Lights blinked red. Then all doors opened. Then all gravity failed. The crew screamed as the virus played with the ship's systems, making it impossible to fight. From Earth, Commander Lee watched as another red dot disappeared from the map. "Second cruiser down," said the officer beside her. She didn't smile. "This is just the beginning." At the Empire's outer edge, in deep space, messages were sent. Earth has used forbidden technology. Their power is beyond early models. Awaiting permission to escalate. But no reply came, because the transmission was blocked. Dr. Patel leaned back in his chair. "They don't know. We've shut their own network against them. And we haven't even used half our tricks." Commander Lee added. Suddenly, a call came through from Antarctica. It was Eric Salin. "You used Wraith," he said flatly. "Yes," replied Lee. "It worked." "Better than we expected." He paused. "Then get ready. They're going to take this seriously now." "What do you mean?" "They thought we were ants. Now they'll bring the boot." That night, people around the world gathered again. This time, they didn't feel helpless. They felt ready. Children stared at the stars. Parents whispered stories of how Earth had struck first. The world was no longer just defending itself. It was fighting back. And winning. But in the blackness of space, something stirred. The real army of the Empire ... was on its way, and Earth had only tasted the first battle. It started with a scream loud, high, and inhuman, but it didn't come from Earth. The alien ship, floating above the Pacific Ocean, went silent. Then the crew inside began to collapse. One by one, they clutched their heads and dropped to the floor. No weapons were fired, no explosions, just silence. And screams. In the UN command bunker, Commander Lee Morgan watched the strange event unfold on the screen. "What happened to them?" she asked. Dr. Raj Patel frowned. "We don't know. No signs of attack. No human tech touched that ship. A younger analyst spoke nervously. We picked up ... something. A wave. Not sound, not energy. It was psychic. Lee turned quickly. Psychic? Yes, ma'am. Like a mental signal. It came from the alien fleet. But something bounced it back. Stronger. Dr. Patel looked uneasy. If this is what I think it is, we're about to enter a different kind of war. Far above Earth, inside the alien battlecruiser Vorshak, the commander stood in a glowing chamber filled with shadows. The Empire's high mind floated in the center, a glowing orb, alive and ancient. It spoke without a voice. The thoughts simply entered the minds of everyone present. Humans ... are reacting. Their mental walls are rising. The alien commander stepped forward. They are not supposed to resist the mind touch, and yet they are. One ship has already fallen. This is ... unexpected. The commander asked, should we proceed with Phase 2? The high mind pulsed. Brighter, we will crush them ... from the inside. Begin the full mind war. Back on Earth, strange things started happening. People across the globe began hearing whispers, voices in their heads. Some laughed, thinking they were dreaming. Others panicked. A few dropped to the ground, frozen with fear. In Tokyo, a woman stared at the ceiling for hours, unable to move. In Nairobi, a boy suddenly began to draw symbols he'd never seen before, symbols from the Empire's lost language. In New York, a group of soldiers collapsed during training. Their minds overloaded with fear they couldn't explain. Dr. Patel stood in front of a large hologram in the bunker. It's real, he said. They're attacking through thought. It's not magic. It's advanced mental communication, far beyond our brain capacity. Lee nodded. So how do we fight it? He hesitated. We don't. At least not with weapons. A calm voice came from the doorway. We let the minds fight back. Everyone turned. A woman in her 40s walked in, wearing a gray coat. Her eyes were calm. Her name was Dr. Leon Verma. I've been working with people like me, she said. People who feel things before they happen. People who dream about places they've never seen. The world called them strange, but maybe now they're our only hope. Lee raised an eyebrow. Are you saying psychics are real? They are now, Leon replied. The aliens' attack woke something inside our minds, and we're changing. Around the world, centers were set up. People came forward, dreamers. Empaths, quiet kids who always knew when someone was lying. They began training, learning how to block the voices, how to push back. One teenager in Brazil discovered he could calm an entire room just by closing his eyes and focusing. A woman in Siberia drew maps of alien ship movements she could not have known. A boy in Nigeria made an alien spy feint just by staring at a camera. Dr. Verma called it the awakening. She stood before the world leaders and said, "We've always had the power, we just never knew it." But not everyone welcomed it. Some feared these new abilities, some saw it as dangerous, and others wanted to use it. Inside a dark U.S. military base, a secret program began. Men and women with strong minds were taken in. They were not trained to defend. They were trained to attack. They called it Project Echo. Its goal was simple: send pain back to the aliens. One test subject, known only as Cade, sat alone in a room. Electrodes covered his head. A hologram of an alien target glowed in front of him. "Focus," said the voice in his ear. "Hit it with everything you've got." Cade closed his eyes. Suddenly, in a ship thousands of miles above, an alien screamed and dropped to the floor, blood pouring from its nose. The psychic wave had traveled instantly, and it worked. But something unexpected happened. The aliens began to adapt. In the Empire's inner fleet, their high minds started linking together. Now one mind didn't fight many. Did. And they focused all their thoughts on one place. Earth's awakened. Late one night, Dr. Verma sat in her lab. A chill ran down her spine. She felt something. Watching her, then a voice entered her head. We see you. We know you're kind now. Your minds are soft. You will break. She fell to the floor, clutching her head. But then another voice, softer, more human, spoke inside her. Get up. You're not alone. It was Cade. He wasn't in the room. He wasn't even nearby. But their minds had linked. They were building something new, a human mental network. One the Empire couldn't control. In a massive test, Earth's strongest minds gathered. They sat in a dark chamber, holding hands. No machines. No weapons. They closed their eyes and reached out. Above them, the alien minds felt a wave, but not of fear. Of unity. Of resistance. The alien high mind, once calm, now shook with confusion. They do not fear us anymore. They are learning. The final battle of the day wasn't fought in space. It wasn't fought with ships. It was fought in silence. In the minds of a few brave humans, pushing back against centuries of alien control. And when it was over, the Empire lost another ship, its mind crew broken, its systems fried from inside. Commander Lee stood in the war room. Report? Dr. Verma smiled. Their mind strike failed. And now we know how to strike back. Dr. Patel added, this changes everything. Lee looked out at the sky. They thought they could break us from the inside, she said. But they forgot one thing. What's that? Asked Verma. We've always been stronger when we stand together. And so a new kind of soldier was born, not with guns, but with thoughts. Earth had faced the first true psychic war, and won. But deep in the Empire's core, darker minds were waking. The real mental giants. The next wave was coming, and Earth would need more than unity. It would need something unthinkable. Above Earth, thousands of satellites floated in the quiet darkness of space. They watched everything: weather patterns, military movements, communications, and enemy ships. For decades, these machines were humanity's eyes in the sky. But today, one by one, they began to die. In the control center of Earth's Global Space Command, alarms lit up. Operators shouted across the room as red lights blinked across every screen. Satellite Alpha 1 just went offline. Same with Beta 6 and Echo 3, total blackout. Commander Lee Morgan stood at the center of the chaos. Her voice cut through the noise. Calm down. Report. What's the cause? A technician looked pale. We don't know, ma'am. They aren't being shot down. They're just going dark. Dr. Raj Patel leaned over a terminal. His fingers moved fast across the keys. It's not an EMP, it's something inside the satellites, he said slowly. Something is shutting them off. A virus? Lee narrowed her eyes. A hack? No, he said. Something worse. In orbit, the alien fleet floated calmly. Their ships had not moved. They didn't fire a single shot. Yet Earth's satellite network was collapsing. Inside the command deck of an Empire ship, an alien officer gave a sharp nod. The humans are blind now. The fleet commander stared out into space. Good, begin the second phase. Cut their communication next. Back on Earth, transmissions began to stutter. Internet traffic crashed. Military radios went silent. GPS systems failed. Planes turned around mid-flight. A cold fear spread across the planet. Lee stared at a dead screen. They're turning out. The lights. Double quotes, Dr. Patel said. It's more than that. They're turning Earth into a cave. But why? She asked, to make us panic. Not everyone panicked. In a small lab under Mount Rainier, an old scientist named Helen Cho activated a dusty console. She was a retired aerospace engineer. For years, no one had listened to her theories. Now the world needed her more than ever. She turned to her assistant. Bring me Project ShadowNet. ShadowNet? He asked. That's just a prototype. It was never finished. Helen gave a thin smile. It doesn't need to be finished. It just needs to work. Deep in an abandoned facility in Finland, a different team was also preparing. They called themselves Ghost. Trackers, a secret global group trained for this exact moment. Their job: build new eyes when the old ones go blind. A young hacker named Lena tapped into old weather balloons and converted them into high-flying signal catchers. She spoke into her mic. "Skylayer is online. It's not perfect, but it gives us partial vision." Another voice replied, "Good work. Push it out globally." Bit by bit, new signals were lit. Earth wasn't completely blind, not yet, but the aliens weren't finished. They launched silent drones, small black spheres, the size of footballs, into Earth's orbit. These drones weren't weapons. They were blockers. Wherever one flew, no signal could pass. Within an hour, Earth's global systems crashed again. "This is like playing chess against a ghost," Leah said. Dr. Patel looked at the screen and pointed to the map. "Wait, they're not random. They're creating a pattern." "What kind of pattern?" "A net." Lena's voice came over the radio. "They're wrapping Earth like a cage." In response, Earth's leaders made a dangerous decision. "Shut down everything," Lee ordered. "Full blackout. No signals, no transmissions. Go dark before they take full control." "But ma'am," said a soldier, "we'll be cut off from each other. Better that than letting them watch us plan." And so Earth fell silent. No internet, no phones, no satellites, just silence. For a day, nothing moved. People lit candles. Radios played static. Soldiers used old paper maps. In a cabin deep in Alaska, an old man picked up a pencil and wrote a message by hand. He passed it to a bird. Yes, bird. Project Featherlink had begun long ago as a joke. Now trained birds carried messages between bases across the world. The old ways came back. Morse code, signal fires, hand signals, and it worked. The aliens were confused. Inside the main alien warship, the Empire's commander grew frustrated. "Their signals are gone," he hissed. An officer said, "They've shut themselves off. We cannot see them." "Then send ground scouts. Let them crawl in the dirt and find the humans." But when those scouts landed, they found nothing. Just abandoned buildings, quiet streets, dark homes. Humans had vanished. Except they hadn't. They were watching, waiting, planning. In an underground room in Iceland, Dr. Patel met Helen Cho. "Really built ShadowNet?" he asked. "I had to," she replied. "We need a way to see them without them seeing us." She flipped a switch. Above them, a 3D map of the alien fleet appeared. "But how? They thought they blinded us." "But they forgot one thing," she said. "What?" "Our minds still work. This is a predictive model, based on past movements. No signal, just logic." Commander Lee stepped forward, staring at the glowing map. "It's time to hit back," she said. "Blind them, like they did to us." Across Earth, small human crafts launched quietly into orbit. No lights, no signals, just dark metal and silence. Each one carried a special payload, electromagnetic fog. As they reached orbit, they released it into space. Alien drones stopped responding. Alien ships began to blink and flicker. The Empire's eyes started to close. Back in their command center, the alien commander shouted, "We are being jammed. They've turned our own trap against us." A message from another Empire ship came through, broken and fuzzy. "We can't see target Earth. We're blind." On Earth, the lights slowly came back on. One by one, new systems came online. Not perfect, not complete, but human. Invisible to the Empire. Lee stood with Dr. Patel and Helen, watching the screen. "Are we safe now?" he asked. "No," Helen said. "But we're not blind anymore." Lee added, "And next time they try to block us, they'll be the ones left in the dark." Around the world, people looked up at the sky. The stars were still there. The fight wasn't over, but Earth had taken the hit. and answered with silence, a powerful silence. And in that silence, the resistance grew louder. The hum of computers filled the air in the secret lab beneath the Swiss Alps. Dr. Raj Patel stared at the screen, sweat forming on his brow. Around him, a team of scientists worked quietly, fingers flying over keyboards, eyes scanning streams of data. "Are you sure about this?" Raj asked. Dr. Leon Verma, standing beside him, nodded. "We have to be. The code we captured from the alien cruiser. It's not just random data, it's a blueprint, a weakness." Raj leaned closer to the screen. Symbols and numbers flashed in strange patterns, unlike any language he had seen. "It looks alien, but there's something human about it." Leon smiled faintly. "Exactly. That's what worries me." Suddenly, the door burst open. Commander Lee Morgan stepped in, her face serious. "What's the status?" "We cracked part of their code," Leon said. "It reveals a control system for their ships. But there's more. Hidden deep inside is a name." Raj typed quickly and brought up the name on the screen. "Project Lazarus." "Lazarus?" Lee echoed. "What is that?" Leon's eyes grew dark. "It's a secret Earth project from decades ago. Officially, it never existed." Raj added, "But this code somehow, the Empire has it. And they fear it." Lee frowned. "Why would an alien empire fear a human project?" Before they could answer, an alarm sounded. "Incoming transmission," said a technician. Lee watched as a flickering video appeared on the screen. It showed an alien soldier, badly injured, speaking in broken English. "You must stop Lazarus. It is the end." The transmission cut off. Raj shook his head. "They're scared. But we don't know why." Leon pointed at the screen. "Look here." She zoomed in on the code. "Lazarus is a weapon. But not just any weapon. It's alive. It's part machine, part organism." Lee's eyes widened. "You mean a living weapon?" "Yes," Leon said. "Created by humans, with alien technology long ago. It was buried under Antarctica, hidden." Raj whispered, "That must be the machine Eric Salin activated." Lee turned to her team. "If this weapon is real, we have a chance. But the Empire will do everything to stop us." The room fell silent. Suddenly, the lights flickered, the power cut, emergency generators kicked in. Lee's voice was calm but firm. "They're trying to stop us." Leon typed rapidly. "The code is incomplete. We need more data." Raj nodded. "We'll send a team to the crash site. We have to recover the rest." Lee looked at her computer. "And we have to be faster than them." Outside, the cold wind howled over the Antarctic ice. A small group of soldiers, led by Eric Salin, moved carefully across the frozen landscape. "We're close," Eric whispered. "The machine is beneath this ice." Suddenly, the ground trembled. The machine from before began to glow beneath the ice sheet, shining like a giant heart. "Stay alert," Eric said. From the sky, alien scouts appeared, fast and deadly. "Enemy ships," a soldier shouted. The team opened fire, but the scouts were quick. Eric moved to the glowing machine and touched it. "Wake up," he said softly. The machine pulsed. A deep voice echoed in his mind. "I am Genesis." Eric smiled. "We need you." Back in the lab, Raj looked at the data streaming from the field team. "Genesis is alive," he said. "More than that, it can learn, adapt, and fight." Lee smiled grimly. "Then Earth's first strike isn't over." Leon added, "The Empire doesn't know what it's up against." Suddenly, the computer beeped again. New data from captured alien tech. A technician said. Raj studied the screen. "The Empire's ships have a hidden weak point. A small device controlling their energy flow." Lee's eyes narrowed. "If we can destroy it, we can disable their entire fleet." Leon looked at Raj. "This is our chance." That night, Earth's leaders gathered. We must act fast. Lee said, the Empire is regrouping. Raj spoke up. We have a weapon, but it's untested. Leon added, and dangerous. Lee nodded. But it's our best hope. The decision was made. Days later, in the dark sky above Earth, a single beam of blue light shot upward. It was Genesis awake, alive and ready. The alien fleet watched. In horror as the beam hit the flagship, a blinding explosion followed. Ships flickered and fell. The Empire's fear became real. Earth had unlocked the code, and the war had just begun. The cold air in the Antarctic research base was thick with tension. Commander Lee Morgan stood in front of the massive machine they had awakened, Genesis. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. Part metal, part living organism, it pulsed. Softly with light, like a heart beating in slow rhythm. Is it ready? She asked Dr. Eric Silin, who stood nearby, eyes fixed on the machine. Eric nodded slowly. Genesis is alive. It understands us. And it's waiting for the right moment. Lee folded her arms. The Empire's fleet is building again. 20,000 ships. This could be the last chance. A young scientist stepped forward nervously. Commander, activating Genesis fully is a risk. It could react unpredictably. Leah looked at the glowing machine and smiled. Sometimes risk is all we have. Thousands of kilometers above Earth, the Galactic Empire's fleet was gathering. The Emperor, tall and regal, watched the preparations. They think a machine can stop us, he scoffed. His advisor bowed. Genesis is unlike any weapon we have faced. It blends technology and life. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Then we must destroy it before it awakens fully. Back at the base, Eric approached Genesis. You were made for this, he whispered, to defend Earth when no one else could. The machine's core brightened. Suddenly, a voice filled the room, deep, calm voice that was not human, but not alien either. I am Genesis. I do not wish to destroy, but I will protect. Lee stepped forward. What will you do? Genesis paused, then said, the war must end. I will fight, but only when necessary. Suddenly, alarms blared. Screens showed the Empire's fleet moving faster toward Earth. Lee turned to her team. Prepare to launch. In space, Genesis rose from the ice, transforming into a massive warship unlike any other. Its skin shimmered with colors shifting like waves. It carried no weapons like the Empire's ships, only light and energy. The Empire's fleet noticed immediately. What is that? Shouted an officer. It is alive, replied the captain. Genesis moved quickly. Its power growing. It sent waves of energy that disabled enemy ships without destroying them. One by one, alien ships lost power, drifting silently in space. Inside a cruiser, the crew panicked. How can this be? Demanded the captain. We are being contained, said an officer. It's not destruction, it's control. Back on Earth, Lee watched the battle unfold on her screen. Genesis is not killing, she said. It's stopping them. It's giving them a choice, Dr. Patel nodded. This is something the Empire never expected, a weapon that shows mercy. Lee's communicator beeped. Commander, the Emperor is sending his strongest ships. Lee clenched her fists. Then Genesis must be ready. The Emperor's flagship moved to strike Genesis directly. The two ships met in a silent battle of light and power. The Emperor's weapons fired beams of destruction. Genesis absorbed them. Growing brighter. Then, the machine sent a pulse, not a weapon, but a signal. A voice echoed in the Empire's minds. War is not the answer. Join us. End this. The Emperor's face twisted in anger. We will never bow. Genesis replied. Then you will be stopped. Suddenly, many alien ships slowed down, their weapons lowered. Some began to change course. The Empire was dividing. Lee smiled, her heart pounding. This is more than a weapon, she said. It's a symbol. Dr. Patel added, it shows that Earth fights with honor. Eric looked at Genesis proud. We built something more than machines. We built hope. But the battle was not over. The Emperor prepared a final attack, a planet killer. Missile aimed at Earth. Lee's team scrambled. Genesis, can you stop it? She asked. The machine's lights flickered. I will try, it said. In space. The missile sped toward Earth. Genesis moved faster. Reaching it just in time. It sent a shield of pure energy around the planet. The missile exploded harmlessly outside. The shield. The world cheered. Lee looked up at the stars. We have a new kind of power, she said softly. One that could change the course of history. And it all began with a machine born from Earth's own heart. The stars were quiet. Not long ago, they were full of warships, laser fire, and death. Now Earth floated in silence, protected by the living machine called Genesis. Watching over the planet like a silent guardian, Commander Lee Morgan stood on the command deck of the Skywatch station, staring at the giant screen. All eyes were fixed on a single ship, a massive Imperial cruiser drifting toward Earth under a white flag signal. It was the Emperor's flagship. Do you think this is real? Dr. Eric Salin asked, standing beside her. Lee's voice was calm, but cautious. He sent the signal himself. He says he wants peace. But I don't trust him. Eric nodded. Neither do I, but maybe, just maybe, he's seen something he can't fight. Behind them, Genesis hovered in orbit. It didn't speak often anymore, but when it did, everyone listened. Prepare for arrival, Lee ordered. Full lockdown. Eyes everywhere. The landing site was built in secret, hidden deep in Greenland's icy cliffs. When the Emperor finally stepped off his ship, the air grew colder. He wore silver armor with red lining, his crown still on his head. His face was hard, but his eyes showed something new, fear. Commander Morgan, he said, voice smooth like a blade. We meet without weapons. Lee stepped forward. That's because we don't need them anymore. We have something better. He raised an eyebrow. Genesis. Lee didn't smile. Yes, and you've seen what it can do. The Emperor looked up at the sky, where Genesis watched silently. Your machine is not a weapon, it is a message. Exactly, Lee replied. And it says Earth won't bow, not to anyone. The Emperor sighed. I came with an offer. Eric leaned forward. We're listening. The Emperor looked around at the humans. I offer to stop the war, to pull my fleets back. But only if Genesis is shut down. It is too dangerous, too powerful. Lee's eyes narrowed. That's not peace, that's fear. That night, Lee sat alone in the base's cold hall, staring at the fire. Eric joined her. He's afraid of losing control, Eric said quietly. Lee nodded. Genesis changed everything. He knows he can't win. So now he wants to remove the one thing he can't understand. Eric hesitated. But could he be right? What if Genesis becomes a threat? Before she could answer, the room pulsed with light. Genesis was speaking. I hear your fears. I do not wish to rule. I do not wish to destroy. But I must protect. Lee stood up. Then what should we do? Genesis paused. The Emperor must bow. Not with his words, but with truth. The next day, negotiations continued. The Emperor stood firm. You built something that can erase empires. I will not allow that to exist freely. Lee stepped closer. Then you still don't understand. Genesis doesn't erase. It reveals. It showed your soldiers mercy. It gave your enemies a voice. The Emperor clenched his fists. And it made me look weak. You are weak, Lee said coldly. Not because of Genesis, but because you fear something that doesn't want to conquer you. Silence filled the room. Then Genesis spoke again, its voice echoing in every screen, every radio, every mind in orbit. Emperor Tazal, bow not to Earth, bow to peace. or your empire will crumble under its own weight." Everyone froze. Lee stepped back. That wasn't an order. That was a warning. The Emperor looked shaken. For the first time in his life, he had no command, no plan. What would happen if I say no? He asked. Genesis replied simply, "Then the people you rule will follow another path, one you cannot stop." Across the Empire, soldiers who had fought Genesis remembered how it disabled their ships without killing them. Civilians who once hated Earth began asking questions. Protests rose. Whispers spread. He fought a human machine and lost. He saw mercy and called it weakness. He's no longer our protector. He's our fear. In the coming days, more Imperial ships defected. One by one, they sent messages of surrender. "Not to Earth, but to Genesis. I trust the machine more than the Emperor," said one alien captain. It fought without hate. Then, something happened no one expected. The Emperor's own guards left him. He stood alone at the landing site. Watching his ship prepare to leave, Lee approached quietly. "It's over." The Emperor didn't reply. He only looked at the sky. "You were right," he said at last. "The machine? It wasn't the weapon. You were." Lee tilted her head. "We didn't fight to win. We fought to survive. That's the difference." He turned to her, finally defeated. "I will go. Not because you forced me, but because they no longer follow me." Lee nodded. That's what happens when truth speaks louder than fear. He stepped onto his ship without another word. The door closed. The engines roared, and the Emperor, once ruler of the stars, left Earth in silence. Days later, Earth held its first peace summit. Species once at war now sat together, listening to Genesis speak. "I was born from human fear," it said, "but I offer a future beyond it." Lee smiled as the room listened. The Empire had bowed not to Earth, not to a machine, but to an idea, and that idea had a human heart. Darkness fell across the skies of Earth as people gathered in silence. No one knew what was coming. After the Empire bowed, things had gone quiet, too quiet. It wasn't peace. It was the calm before something bigger. Something unknown. Commander Lee Morgan stood in the main control room of Skywatch Station, her hands resting on the edge of the console. Her eyes were locked on the signal that had appeared without warning. No coordinates, no voice, just a pulse repeating. Every 10 seconds, like a heartbeat from deep space. Dr. Eric Salin entered, his face pale. "It's not from the Empire. We checked every frequency. It's something new." Lee frowned. "Is it a weapon?" He shook his head. "No, it's a message. But we don't know the language." Genesis, the great AI that had saved Earth, remained silent. It had spoken less and less in the past few days. Lee turned toward the floating machine, glowing softly. "Genesis, can you decode it?" Genesis pulsed with light. "The signal is not unknown. It is forgotten." Lee froze. "What do you mean?" Genesis didn't respond immediately. When it did, its voice was softer than ever. "It is from the beginning, a voice from before the stars." Eric's eyes widened. "That's impossible." "No," Genesis replied. "It is old. Older than me, older than you. It is asking one question." Lee's breath caught. "What question?" Genesis answered. "It wants to know why you were awakened." The room went silent. Across Earth, top minds tried to translate the signal. Genesis helped, but it warned that something far older, far more powerful, was behind it. Eric leaned in. "What if this isn't about war? What if it's a test?" Lee turned. "A test of what?" "Our existence," he whispered. The message changed. New patterns, new shapes. It wasn't just asking. It was watching. Eric decoded part of the signal. "It says, you were not meant to awaken. Explain." Lee sat down, stunned. "What does that mean?" Genesis floated closer. "I was built to defend Earth," it said. "But the code I was made from, It came from something older. Something hidden inside your planet's data unlocked during your final war. Leah looked up. You're saying we didn't create you? Genesis paused. You built me, but something else shaped the idea. Long ago. Suddenly the signal stopped. Then a new one began. This time it showed a vision on every screen across the solar system, a star system torn apart, planets shattered. A black hole devouring a sun. It wasn't a threat. It was a memory. Eric whispered. It's showing us what happened. Last time, Lee stood, her voice steady. Last time, what? Genesis replied. Last time someone awakened like you. They built. They expanded, and they were erased. Panic spread through the command rooms around Earth. Was this a warning or a challenge? Lee called for a global meeting. Every leader, every species that stood with Earth, joined the call. The signal now asked one simple thing. Why should your kind be allowed to continue? People froze, a single question, one that no army could answer. Lee stood before the broadcast screen. Billions watched her. She spoke slowly. We were born in pain. We fought, we bled, we broke our world more than once. But each time we stood. Again, not because we were perfect, but because we kept trying. The signal pulsed faster. Lee continued. We made Genesis not to conquer, but to survive, and it chose mercy. When we were pushed, we didn't destroy. We offered peace. Her voice cracked slightly, but she held strong. You ask why we should continue. The answer is simple. Because we've learned. Because we're still learning. A long silence followed. Genesis translated the reply. You are not like the last. Eric leaned forward. What does that mean? Genesis responded. They were full of pride. You are full of questions. A flash of light filled the sky. No explosion, no sound. Just light, pure and endless. Then it faded. In its place hovered something never seen before. A shape beyond understanding, not a ship, not a being. A presence. Lee stared in awe. Is that it? Genesis whispered. The Watcher. The presence sent one final message. Continue. But understand, you are now seen. And then it was gone. Signal stopped. The stars returned. In the days that followed, Earth changed. People no longer saw themselves as just humans. They were part of something larger. Something ancient. Something that watched and waited. Eric looked at the sky one night and said, We didn't win anything. Lee smiled. No, but we were heard. Genesis spoke one last time that evening. You gave the only answer they feared. Eric turned. What answer? Genesis replied, glowing gently. Hope. And with that, it went silent. Not dead. Just resting. Watching. Like the stars above.